This is a technical tour of the Charnal House Racing Subaru 360 Firebug. It is based off a 1970 Subaru 360 sedan and has a sport bike drivetrain swapped onto it from a 2003 Honda CBR 954, also known as a Fireblade. And the nickname for these cars in Japan, Subaru 360s, are known as ladybugs, so you put the two together, it's a Firebug. We built this car starting in 2010 and spanning all the way up to 2013. Obviously a laborious process. For the 24 Hours of Lemons racing series, we had a Geo Metro with a Ford V6 out of a Taurus SHO swapped into the rear of it as our primary car, and this was supposed to kind of take the torch a little bit further and a little more extreme. And unfortunately it was a little too extreme for the series, and they banned it based on its wheelbase, which is absolutely diminutive. It's hard to get a scale of a Subaru 360 if you've never seen one in the wild, but they are roughly as long as a lawn tractor with a bagger or a 4-seater golf cart. Obviously, with a car this small and this much power, it gets pretty crazy. So I'll pop the doors and give you some insight into what's going on here. Okay, so how to go about building a ridiculous Subaru 360 like this. Well, the first thing you're going to do is take absolutely everything out of it, sell it, and cut out all of the rusty floor and install a 10 gauge steel pan for the entire interior and tie it together with a roll cage. Up front, the driver's controls are skewed to the right. The seat is positioned kind of center right, just because we only needed to make it one-seater, and I guess it's pretty fun to drive with it positioned almost dead center like a McLaren F1. So I am now in the Firebug, and I am 6'2", and one of the questions I always get is, how do you fit in it? Well, pretty easily actually. There's kind of a lot of space in here. For a one-seater car like this, there's probably a lot more room in here than there really would be if you had a passenger in a normal 360. You just have to use the space to slide your foot over, and then you can slide over the roll cage and kind of glide yourself in here. One of the curious things is you do have to stick your foot in this slot, which used to be the original tunnel that ran down the length of the car. It's actually kind of convenient for holding yourself in place though. For safety equipment, we have a fire extinguisher. The seat is a Buddy Club P1 seat, and since it wasn't going to be a Lemons car anymore, instead turning into a street rod, we wanted a street legal safety harness, so we have a Schroth Rally 3 harness, which is DOT certified. You can see it has the quick release ASM device clip on the webbing there. 6-point cage on plinth boxes. Got the driver's tub is probably made from much thicker steel than needs to be for safety purposes. In the rear, where the rear seats were. Yes, this car did come with rear seats. It was a 4-seater. We have a bulkhead built around the engine, which sits directly behind the driver's back, and a 10-gallon ATL fuel cell with a ballistic bladder. Under the left side, inside the bulkhead, is a Mercedes-Benz fuel pump, and for cooling is a radiator from a piece of golf course equipment from John Deere. Obviously, being a Lemons car, we did some pretty resourceful things. A lot of things are junkyard sourced or scavenged from stuff we had laying around, such as the coolant overflow tank here, which many Volkswagen aficionados would immediately recognize. With the rear deck open there, you can't really see very much. Everyone wants to see the engine. You can't really see it being where it is, but it's deep in there. If you do want to access it, there's some quick latches here for this panel immediately behind the seat, but you can't really see a lot or access much other than the fuel pump and the fuel filter, and the air box is there. If you want to do anything more than that, other than sort out some wiring, you need to remove the air box and dig in there. There's a panel immediately behind the back of the seat, but that doesn't really give you a whole lot of access to anything other than the exhaust system and perhaps troubleshooting electronics and wiring. All of the electronics are primarily here, easily accessible and out in the open. There's the ECU for the motorcycle and various relays, and the fuse box for motorcycle related components. For shifting duties, we elected to use a Geometro transaxle. The motorcycle engine output sprocket directly runs into the input shaft of the transaxle. So we use it as kind of like a range box, and that is shifted here. For the sport bike transmission, that is a sequential box here on a throttle quadrant from A6 Intruder attack plane. I mentioned before the two transmissions, and you're like, what? Why would you do that? Well, it's a motorcycle toting around a small car, but still a car. So on top of like trying to figure out how to get power to the rear wheels without a chain blowing up and overheating and all of that crap, we just had it run from the engine output sprocket of the motorcycle stuff directly into the input shaft of a Geometro transaxle, and that is controlled down here. And this is used as kind of a range selector. It also has a reverse gear. So yes, this car is motorcycle engine and has reverse, and it doesn't use any sort of like electric motor style arrangement or anything like that. So you could say that this transmission is kind of like a 5x6. Usually when I'm starting off, I just have this in fourth to get going, and as soon as I get going, I shift over to fifth, and that is the top speed range. If you're like loading it on a trailer or climbing a steep hill in your driveway, you can put it in 1. This car will barely move in range 1 with the shifter up here placed in 1. and you don't even have to use any gas or anything, and it will climb a hill like a granny gear. Down here we have the CRX clutch cable. It's daisy chained as some sort of cable from a Toro lawn equipment. I'm not really sure. It has the part number stamped on it. You have the instrumentation here. Red line is at 11.7. Once it reaches 9,500, the power is absolutely explosive. You have a gear indicator there because we were having some issues just trying to not get lost in the transmissions. The rest of the controls consist of a battery shutoff, and down here is a CRX pedal set with a Geo Metro steering rack flipped upside down so that it is now skewed to the right, going up into a Geo Metro column. And you have the wheel here. That's going to be a running theme with this car. Is, I would say, it's 30% Subaru 360, 30% motorcycle, and 30% Geo Metro. The front axle of the Geo Metro is used front and rear, with the rear obviously not being rear wheel steering is locked in place. So it does have the front Geo Metro brakes also on the rear, which kind of balances the car out. Front Geo Metro brakes on the front also, and all four brakes are EBC green pads. Up here on the front we use a master cylinder from a Nissan Quest, I believe, and a lawnmower battery, which is really all you need with this. Some of the old Subaru 360 wiring is here in pretty good shape, but we've upgraded some of the fuses to more recent stuff. So I'll take you on a very brief ride just across the parking lot here to give you a demonstration of the transmissions and everything. The controls here are for the flap switch. As it was on the plane, you have up, off, and on. This is for the electric fuel pump. That would be continuous on if you were trying to diagnose something or just bleed the fuel system. Up is the standard position for ECU controlled as it normally would be. Right here, these starter buttons, you have to push both of them at the same time. This moves back and forth for shifting, and this is your ignition switch. It's all pretty simple. Rounding off the cosmetics, because after a rejection due to safety concerns in the series racing against full-size trucks and things of that nature, we decided to turn it into a little straight rod. We did address a lot of the body that was a bit dented, and used as basis for the over fenders wide body kit for a original Fiat 500. They are widened a bit to adapt to the shape of the Subaru 360. Repainted in Dodge Tour Red and graphite metallic, common on Dodge Challenger, things like that. The wheels are vintage Dunlop 24 Le Mans, wrapped in Toyo T1R tires. It's kind of hard to find wheel. You don't see a lot of them out there. The tire size is 195/45 14s. You don't really need a lot of rubber on a Subaru 360. Okay, we now have the Firebug up on the left, and it gives you a pretty cool view of the engineering that's going on this car, and it gives you a clearer picture of exactly what's happening. You can see here, this is what remains of the only original undercarriage of the Subaru 360, which would be where your feet go. The rest of it is comprised of the two constructed subframes that hold on the Geo Metro front ends. See that one down there? This rail here is the shifter rod, and up front we didn't have any room for the legs to go when you put a steering rack up here, so what we did is flip the Geo Metro steering rack upside down, and that enables it to steer the axle from the front of the knuckle instead of the rear, which is how it is in the Geo Metro. So we had to then cut the knuckles and reverse the Ackerman for those as well. Coming back here, you can see some of the tie rod and steering linkage. This one back here is captive and goes through these holes for clearance. And nestled up in here, we can get the best view of the Honda 954cc engine, developing about 150 horsepower and 78 foot-pounds of torque, with its adapter plate that we built. And it's splined with a custom shaft about 2 inches long, goes right into the input shaft of the Geo Metro gearbox, which is here. And both of these units are connected to a custom subframe, which is inserted up into the car. Obviously, with packaging like this, there's some limitations to where we could make the drive shafts go, and the lengths for those drive shafts. So here we've taken Geo Metro drive shaft, but it's using two of the outer ball style CV joints in order to survive this angle here, which I'm sure someone is looking at and criticizing heavily. But in the 10 years I've been driving this car, it hasn't given me a single problem. I did have to upgrade the boots to heavier duty units, and they are O-ringed, and I've fully greased those joints. You can see here where it's been modified to adapt to that transmission shaft. On the right is a standard Geometro drive shaft, but it has had its length doctored a bit with a sleeve and welded together. Here we can see some of the cooling system. And if we go up in here, you can make out the Mercedes fuel pump up there. Oil level can be checked right there. So this concludes our overview of the Charnal House Subaru 360 Firebug. I hope you've enjoyed having a look with me. It's been quite an interesting car to own for 15 years. If you have any questions or comments or criticisms, I'd especially love to hear it. And comment down below.